I still don't have an intro, but who needs one? Hey everybody, this is Alvzy Sprocket here, and oh, look at this. We're back in New Vegas with the Randomizer mod. It's been, geez, a couple of months since the last part was recorded. So for you guys, it was a few months and then nothing for a little bit, and now we've just gotten back into the swing of things after my episodes like a week ago, but I recorded those way back at the beginning of my, Mike Apocalypse issue. But now we're back, and we got New Vegas on the screen, and I am trying something new with the recording, so the video quality should be a little bit nicer. I know New Vegas has a lot of weird color stuff that caused some issues with some of the recordings. I'll see if this fixes it. But yeah, so, if you remember last time, we traveled to Black Mountain, and found our good friend Raul here, and we also completed New Vegas bounties, which means we'll be able to start the second one, pretty soon. But first of all, to start off with, I think we're going to sort out some business with Raul today, because there's a couple more little quests that I want to do before we begin something that's going to be a little on the tricky side. As you're probably aware, at the end of the last part, I had a bit of a revelation about something that could definitely help us going forward. Specifically, dealing with this little perk right here, Logans Loophole. As part of this trait, which was what we started with, our chems last twice as long, and we have no chance of addiction. However, our maximum level is level 30. Now, normally that's not a huge issue in New Vegas. You can usually get your skills and special and stuff to where you want it for, going forward. However, with the randomizer and with some of the more difficult mods we have installed, our skills are definitely not in a good place. Our science is 100, our unarmed is 85, our repair is 84, our wet melee weapons is 78, and then our speech is 42, our guns is 32, energy weapons is just reaching like 56, barter is 82. Long story short, our skills are ridiculous, which means if our level cap was stuck at 30, we'd have a very big problem. The good news is there is something we can do to solve that problem very soon. However, in order to do that, I want to get a little bit more done and out of the way here in the Mojave itself. Which requires going into, I believe it's this hangar. Let's see if I chose right. I did. Now, we have Raul with us because
that an outsider has proven so helpful.
Yes, Raul is a very important character because he has some very important quests, or a very important quest.
Isn't that bomber a beauty? Thanks so much for making an old man's dreams come true.
Can I get the code for the VR codes?
No, those aren't.
Okay, I was just curious.
Anything else?
Hopefully it activates. Maybe it won't anymore.
That's a good thing to see, huh, boss?
There we go. Raul has something to say. What are you talking about?
That loyal guy. He's getting up there in years, but he still finds a way to make himself useful to his people. If you ask me, that's better than withering away all alone or holding on to some faded piece of glory from your past.
Loyal's using his knowledge of his use of knowledge to help the tribe. I think that's a noble goal.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
What's on your mind?
Old history, boss. I grew up in a place called Hidalgo Ranch, just outside Mexico City. It wasn't much, just a bit of a farm, with a house for 3 generations of Tejadas. I wasn't the best behaved kid. I was quick with my hands, with a pistol or a wrench. And I wasn't afraid to get into fights over it. I never killed anybody, but I had my share of run-ins with the police. Mostly my family kept me in line. This was before the war. We were far enough away from Mexico City when the bombs fell that we missed the worst of it. But things got bad quick.
Go on.
Just a few days after Mexico City was vaporized, refugees started pouring down the road to our ranch. We helped who we could, but there were so many. Eventually, my father started turning people away before we ran out of food. Things got violent. My father and I got our guns, and we drove them off.
And what happened then?
About 24 men came back in the night after we'd gone to sleep. They set fire to the ranch house and barred the doors from the outside. My whole family was trapped inside. I smelt the smoke, and I got myself and my little sister Rafaela out through a window. But everyone else, my parents, my grandmother, my 2 brothers, and 2 of my sisters, all died.
What happened then?
Rafaela and I ran. We were pursued by some of the men who attacked our home, but I was always a good shot. The ones who came after us, I killed. The rest, I left be. I had to take care of Rafaela, not throw my life away on revenge.
And you blame yourself for this? Or you can't think it was your fault, no one could stand against a dozen men, armed men all alone? And you blame yourself for this?
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is that for all my skills with a pistol, I couldn't help them. Anyway, that was weighing on my mind. Thanks for letting me get it out in the open, boss.
There we go. Raul is starting to open up about his past, which is unfortunately a bit of a sad tale. Yeah, poor Raul. He's got a lot of dark memories, unfortunately. And I'll leave that power armor be. Now that we're done with that, we can actually head over to the next place on our agenda, which is going to be Camp Forlorn Hope. Because if you haven't done 3-card bounty over at McCarran, you go there, but since we have done that, First Recon has gone over to Camp Forlorn Hope. So I'll meet you guys there. Here we are, and if I step right inside... Let's see. Corporal Sterling.
Howdy. Name's Sterling, First Recon. Can't say I've seen you before. I'd remember if I had.
You remember who passes through?
Got a good memory for faces, landmarks and such too. Comes with practice, that's all, and a lot of scouting from place to place.
I'm just going to go through his dialogue tree real quick, so I'll cut through that. There we go. With that done, in just a second here... Raul, got anything to say?
What can I do for you, boss?
Let's give it a second.
Got a second to talk, boss?
There we go. Sure, what's on your mind?
Meeting Corporal Sterling. Well, it kind of got me thinking. Here's a guy that's been beat all to hell, right? I mean, he could have retired from the service, but instead he signs back on and does what he can. You think he did the right thing?
Let's see. Manager's training. Seems harsh. Can't do his job properly. I think it's good that he's so devoted to his duty. More people should act that way.
You think so, boss? Because I remember a time when a lot of people stuck to their duty no matter what. It ended with nuclear bombs falling on my hometown.
Yeah, I guess so. You're talking about the Great War? What do you remember about it?
After the fire, I knew my sister and I couldn't stay at Hidalgo Ranch anymore. The refugees still wanted me dead. They even put a bounty on me. I remember how scared Rafaela was. I told her if she came with me, we'd see the vaqueros. She used to love the rodeo, especially the trick rider. We figured maybe we could find help in Mexico City. We were young. We didn't know what had happened, really. We didn't understand about the bombs.
Wasn't Mexico City basically annihilated in the Great War?
I don't think it was as hard hit as D.C. or Bakersfield. But it was bad enough. By the time we got there, the city was a radioactive ruin. Still, the city was full of looters, already forming into the beginnings of raider tribes. Crime was bad before the war, but now it was a nightmare. We were living like scavengers, scraping by on what little food we could find, always looking for medicine for my burns. And then, of course, the radiation started to kick in, turning me into this handsome devil you see before you.
Sounds pretty bad.
You're a poet of understatement, boss. But there were moments it was almost worth it. I still remember finding that novelty costume shop. I was just looking around for something I could slice up to wrap my burns when I saw the vaquero outfit hanging on the rack like it hadn't been touched. I took it, not like anybody else needed it, you know, and wore it back to our camp. Rafaela laughed, for the first time since the bombs had fallen.
Wasn't it dangerous to be dressed so noticeably?
It was. I started to build up a legend. Sometimes it headed off trouble, but most of the times it just started more. Young punks looking to prove themselves would come looking for me, but my eyes were sharp and my guns were quick. For a while, it seemed like we might even survive there, until Rafaela.
Go on. What happened?
She went out to find some food one day. I was sick, so I stayed at our camp. I guess it must have been the beginning of radiation poisoning. Anyway, it was supposed to be safe, but some raiders happened to pass through where she was scavenging. I won't speak of what they did to her. When I found her body, the only way to recognize her was this funny little scar on her knee from when she was a little girl.
That's terrible.
Terrible doesn't begin to cover it, boss. I let my whole family down. First the ranch, now Rafaela. I was the last Tejada. I guess maybe I went a little crazy then. I took my guns and went back to that market. I didn't have many bullets, but I had enough. After the raiders were dead, I salvaged what I could from the store. I was tired. I just wanted to be alone forever.
So what did you do?
I left Mexico City behind. I made my way out to the Gulf Coast. Eventually, I found an old Petro Chico refinery nobody had claimed. I stayed there for a little while, and I thought a lot about my life. I thought about the guns I'd lived by, and what they'd gotten me. I decided my guns hadn't gotten me anything, and it was time to give it up. I took off the old vaquero outfit and put on a Petro Chico jumpsuit. The name tag said Miguel, so I started using the name myself. Eventually, I made it to Arizona. That's another story, boss.
And even more from poor Raul here. Yeah, his story is not a happy one. Hey. Yeah, it's kind of impressive that, you know, this is one of the companions that you'll find maybe the least often just because of how hidden away Black Mountain is, how dangerous it normally is, and the fact that gets so kind of glitchy sometimes and actually being able to get into that room with him. But yeah, he's just got a very sad story about a man who's seen a lot, and, you know, when you try and take on the world, it doesn't always work out so well. But yeah, so I'm gonna head off to the last little checkpoint in Raul's adventure. So we'll head there in just a second. However,
These soldiers look how I feel, boss.
Oh boy. Something's exploding over there. I guess I'll go check it out, but in the meantime, I just want to mention something else too, which is, I have installed 2 new mods. First of which is Invisible Wall Remover, which will get rid of a lot of the random invisible walls that are speckled around the wasteland, that stop us from passing through a lot of weird terrain. The sky is starting to do this again, and I can't see anything, so I guess I'm just going to fast travel away. But the other mod I've installed is Rust Town, which will actually give us a little bit of a, another area to explore, a whole new land. So we'll be doing that soon enough. But while I had Invisible Wall Remover installed, I figured I'd... Uh-oh. This area is freezing up a little bit for some reason.
Guess my eyes won't play a trick after all.
Got a little bottomite up there for some reason. I figured we'd go and check out the Colonel and see if we can reach him now. Head towards you. Uh-oh. Did you throw a plasma grenade at me? Raul, come on. Alright, if I head right up here is where we saw him last time. Yep, Colonel Dornan Jr. I should be able to reach him, let's see. Unless I messed up the installation. Nope. I think I'm going to be able to head up here and talk to him. I don't know what's going to happen when I do this. Something weird could happen.
Who are you? Why you interrupting me?
Great question. I think I'm in the wrong place.
What? A civilian? Which moron let a civilian into the base? Someone escort this civilian from government property now!
Okay. So, it's funny. I had to do some research after the last episode. Okay. Another lobotomite down there. We'll go pick his remains in a second. But I do know that Colonel Dornan the First, like, Senior, was in Fallout 2 and said basically the same thing. So I guess one of the mods just added this extra little Easter egg up here.
Stop wasting my time, maggot!
What do you have on you? Do you have anything neat? I think you have the YCS-186. I guess I'll leave you be. Yeah, he's just there now, so that's neat. Well, we solved that mystery. Was it worth the wait? Not really, but kind of neat. Anyways, with that done, I'm gonna set off for the last little place on our checklist for Raul. Here we are back in Novak. I'm no longer well rested, unfortunately, but I do have one last person to speak to here on behalf of Raul. So right here in Ranger Andy's bungalow. Hey there, Ranger Andy.
We haven't met yet. You must be new in town. I'm Andy.
Nice to meet you. What do you do here, Andy?
Right now, a whole lot of sitting on my keister and counting cracks in the ceiling. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. On better days, I help keep the peace. Boone and Vargas watch the road. I watch the town. Tell myself I'm doing some good.
And you're with the NCR, right?
Was with them. That was back when my arm and leg used to work better. I still like to pretend I'm a ranger, though. I'll check in with the guys up at the station pretty regular on the ham radio. Sometimes they stop by, tell me they're paying their respects, the smug bastards. They haven't been responding to me last couple days. I guess they got tired of hearing me talk, but it still got me a little worried. Hell, listen to me talk, like some damn mother hen.
And would you feel better if I checked on them?
No. They're gonna think I'm having trouble letting go. They're good soldiers. I don't give them enough credit.
And did you do something to your leg?
Yeah, twice. Actually, the first time it was more like half my body. Knocked me out of the Rangers. This time, it's mostly just reminded me how useless I've gotten.
What happened?
A few years back, we get a tip that some Legion slavers were holed up in this burnt-out house a few clicks from where we were stationed. We get there and it's deserted. No sign anyone's been there. I mean, nothing. As we're leaving, I hear something behind me. I turn around and there's this kid, just skin and bone, and he's looking up at us and he's scared half to death. Been hiding in a closet.
And what did you do?
I go to grab him out of there and I notice he's holding something in his hand. Something metal. He shuts himself back in the closet and that's when I see the grenade he's left by my feet. They do it a lot, the Legion, using kids. They know we'll hesitate. Anyway, that was the first time. Second time, I fell down those stairs in front of the motel, just in case I got to thinking I'd put it all behind me.
And speech 30, your body's injured, but not your mind. You're kidding yourself if you think you're useless.
People don't exactly line up to find out what's in my head. Can't remember the last time someone suggested I knew something worth knowing. You know, maybe there's something I can do for you. Since you've gone to all the trouble of flattering a crippled old soldier, there's a move we have in the Rangers for knocking an opponent off his feet. Saved my butt a bunch of times, maybe it will for you too. Let me show you how it's done.
And we get the Ranger takedown, which is neat. Normally you can get this just by heading down the road after... he'll say something more to us in a second here. But yeah, with that speed check, you can get it as well. And you make him feel a little better, so that's nice. Power attack while moving backwards drops your opponent to the ground. Very handy in certain current specific situations. And if I step away...
Boy, you picked that takedown right up. I'm impressed. Must have had some prior training, huh?
Yeah, you could say that. If I say goodbye.
Hey, wait a sec. I know what I said, but if you find yourself by Ranger Station Charlie, let me know what you find. I'd be interested.
And that adds another quest dealing with Ranger Station Charlie to our request log, which we'll do in a second. Eventually. I don't think we'll do it right now, but The important thing is if I head outside and wait just a moment...
Hey, boss. Can I ask you something?
Sure. What's on your mind?
What do you think of guys like Ranger Andy?
He seems like a decent guy.
That wasn't what I meant, really. I mean guys who have a world of experience doing what they do, but have to give it up because they're getting old and slow or too injured.
Even after a crippling injury, a guy like Andy's tougher and more dangerous than most men alive.
Maybe, yeah. I guess you got a point there.
We're not just talking about Ranger Andy, are we?
Not really, boss. No. I left everything when I left Mexico. My home, my family, my name, even my face. I know it's surprising, boss, but I wasn't always this handsome. As far as the world knows, I was Miguel, and I was okay with that. I headed north for a while, and ended up in Tucson. Not Tucson, by the way. Things were good there. Well, maybe not good, but better than Mexico City anyways. I found myself a little shack, started fixing things.
Fixing things?
Well, sure, boss. I was always good at fixing things. Some I fixed for the town, some I fixed for other people, some I fixed just for the hell of it. It's a better way to use your hands than killing. And even then, I wasn't getting any younger or faster. I lived there for a long time, kept to myself, didn't get into any fights. Hell, the only reason I even kept my guns oiled was professional pride.
Why aren't you still there then?
Getting there, boss. I'd been in Tucson. The locals can call it Tucson all they want, but it's Tucson, damn it. About 75 years when she showed up. Prettiest thing you ever saw, boss. Maybe it was just a trick of my senile brain, but I swear she looked just like my Rafaela. Her name was Claudia. She ended up taking work at one of the brothels in town. I never went to her, of course. How could I? But I looked after her in my own way.
What happened with her?
This was a long time ago, before Caesar's Legion pacified Arizona and brought the Raider tribes to heel. A tribe came into Tucson one day. More a gang, really. Dirty Dave and his 6 brothers. They were looking for bullets, and I sold some to them. I figured if I did that, they'd leave town before they tore it up too much.
But they didn't, did they?
No, boss. No, they didn't. As I was saying, I hoped they'd leave the town in peace. Instead, they decided to stop at Claudia's brothel to take the edge off. I don't know which one of them got rowdy first, but by the time I heard the screams and got my guns, it was too late. They shot up the brothel, killed 4 girls, and taken Claudia for their sport.
Did you rescue her?
I went after Dave and his brothers. They had a head start, but they slept nights. I didn't. Took me 3 days to catch up to them. Claudia was dead when I got there. They put a bullet in each of her eyes. I couldn't do anything except avenge her, just like Rafaela. I charged into the middle of their camp and started firing. 2 of them were dead before they knew I was there. The other 5, though, they shot the shit out of me. I would have died, I think, if I wasn't so full of rage.
How did you survive?
By being a meaner old cuss than the rest of them, boss. I wanted to keep living until they weren't. So I just kept shooting until they were all dead. I was in pretty bad shape in the end, though. I don't know how long I laid there, with the sun baking me and the buzzards chomping at me. Eventually, I got the strength to start moving. Some long time after that, I managed to drag my carcass back to town.
What happened then?
When I recovered, more or less anyways, I left Tucson and headed west. I ran into Tabitha at Black Mountain, and well, the rest you know. I swore I was done with the gunslinging life. I was too old, too slow, and too beat up to protect anyone anymore. I thought I was done forever, but after traveling with you, I realized I've always had my doubts.
Doubts about what?
About whether I still had what it took to carry my pistols proudly, to use them to do what's right. And now that I've been traveling with you for a while, you made me realize that I could still do that. Maybe I'm not as tough as I used to be, but my brains can make up for that. And my hands are still quick enough. It's time to put the guns back on.
This is a bit of a problem. I don't have enough speech for him to do the mechanical skills option. And even if I put on all my things, I'm really not quite that close. So we have to choose an ending for Raul here. And the good news is that either ending is okay for Raul. If we choose this top one, then he becomes, after the events of the game, he'll become a vigilante, he'll pursue bad guys who are doing bad things to people who can't defend themselves. Which is good, but there are definitely some arguments for that being an issue. And this option at the bottom is him actually, you know, settling down like the rest of the people that we've come across and using his technical skills to help people. Either one is a good option for Raul. I personally don't think the top option here gives him the most. I feel like it gives him a lesser chance of, you know, finding peace eventually, but unfortunately it's not really a choice, because I could reload and do some swap my speech stuff around. I forgot that the speech check was here, but I think we're going to say I think that's a great idea, Raul, and I hope you'll put them to good use with me.
You can bet on that, boss.
Raul has gained the Old Vaquero perk, which increases his rate of fire with revolvers and lever-action firearms by 33%. Unfortunately, we don't have any of those for Raul. But he also gets the Old Vaquero outfit, which is amazing. I love this thing.
You'll be fair and equitable, boss.
I'm going to take your old armor off so you stay in that. It is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, that is Raul's little story done. I thought we had to bring him back to his house, but maybe that's the other ending, you do that. Anyways, with that done, let's see here. I got a box to put this in. I'll just carry it on me. Raul, let's see if I can get you to stay in this house.
What can I do for you, boss?
Let's see. Let's talk about what we call home. Here. Now, if I tell you to head on,
Good call.
I think it's for the best.
That's why you're the boss.
He returns to his shack.
You always make the right decision. I'll just head home. Home to my lonely abandoned shack in the middle of nowhere.
Raul is returned to his shack. We lose regular maintenance. Yeah, the thing is, full maintenance is probably a better perk for me while he's around. But there's enough stuff to repair with, so it's not a huge loss either way. I just hope that this ending that we've chosen for him works out for the best for him. Yeah, and that's Raul's little storyline done. Which is nice. Also, I don't know if I've ever shown this off. This shower works. This is nice. This is really nice. Anyways, I'm gonna take a quick little nap right here. And let's discuss our next steps. Because, as it is right now, I need about 3,000 more experience to reach level 24. There is something I can do right now that will get me that very quickly. I just hope that I'm ready to do it. Let me take a quick look at my special real quick. Our agility is still only 6. Perception is going to be high enough. Endurance, strength are all right. Charisma, what are you going to do? I have drugs to increase my charisma. There is something that we're going to have to be taking on in a second here that could be a bit of an issue. So I'm going to return back to Good Springs real quick to pick up the right equipment for it. So, as I'm headed over here, let's discuss what my plan here is exactly. Now, if you've played New Vegas, you know that, obviously, there's the massive main story, there's all the massive mods we have installed, and there's the DLC. The DLCs have a lot of interesting content in them, and honestly, some of the DLC content in this game is absolutely amazing. It's some of the best additional content for a game that's ever been made, in my opinion. Admittedly, like, you know, there's, despite your stigmatism about DLCs, it feels like there's a lot of work in them, which feels really nice. And they're different enough that it's not totally alienating that they're not part of the main game. But anyways, what we're taking on, I might as well come out and say it, I am planning on beginning Old World Blues at level 23 with terrible stats. It's definitely going to be doable, but it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. We're going to need to do some preparation for it beforehand. So first of all, there's a lot of things that we just don't need. Things like Lucky, which don't have any sort of armor-piercing stuff, we definitely don't need anymore. Maria has a little bit of armor-piercing, but same deal. Oh wait, I just realized. They're not necessarily all going to be robots. This is going to be weird. I'm going to take, obviously, the pulse gun. The Saturnite fist can stay, because that's not even one of my main weapons. Leave those. Keep that just so I can repair my own stuff in an emergency. Is there any other healing stuff I need to take along, or is this going to be good? Because the other thing is, we're doing this solo. You cannot bring, in the main game at least, you cannot bring companions into the DLCs. I'm pretty sure I have a mod that allows me to, but let's try it without, shall we? I think it'd be interesting to not have to do this solo. Just leave all this stuff here. We have enough caps that I could do some more preparations, but worry about that in a little bit. Now, there are a couple of things that could definitely help us. Like the All-American. I just don't have the problem is I don't have the stats for a lot of these things. I'm just not strong enough to use a lot of them. I'm just going to go through real quick and find anything that I think might be useful for this. I'm going to take along Esther, just as an emergency weapon, because once we go in there, we can't leave until the DLC is done. I'm going to take a couple of fat mines, definitely a handful of grenades, and some mines. And actually, we're bringing back the Protonic Inversal Axe into our inventory, which we haven't had on us for a little while, but it's time for it to come out of retirement. Also, all the pulse grenades. I don't care if there's a high chance that they won't actually be robots. There's going to be some situations where I'm guessing it's going to be guaranteed that we're fighting robots, so we need to be prepared for that. Another thing we want to take is one of our sonic emitters here, just because I don't know if the game's going to be weird and give us one or not. Let's take that one. I'm hoping we can actually... I'll take along a couple in case the game's weird about which ones we're actually able to use or not. I'm bringing along a thermic lance, because that could also be useful if we're up against some robots. That's about it for weapons. As far as apparel goes, I think we have everything we basically need. I don't think I'd had any other real speech stuff that I can take along that I don't already have on me. I'm going to be taking my weapon repair kits, just in case. I'm going to take my doctor's bags, if I can find those. Yeah, all 19 of those. And let's take along some extra good food items here. Honey mesquite pods. And let's see. Anything else that's really good for healing? There. With our sunset sarsaparillas, that should be enough to really keep us healthy and alive. There's no other miscellaneous items we need, so we're carrying quite a bit of equipment, but I think we're going to need it. So, one more trip to Novak to get well rested, and then into the DLC we go. If the game didn't just crash. I'll see you guys in a second. We'll get this sorted out.
Had enough?
I just took a lot of damage from Ada Strauss nuking a random raider, so that's good. She killed both of her mercenaries in the process too, which is great. That's great news. I am gonna loot them, and I guess I'll just take their stuff with me. There are a couple of shops over in Old World Blues, so it'll help, but I'll see you guys in just a second. Ow.